The day I found out Liam was cheating, I marched, 8 months pregnant, to his mistress' apartment. She must have seen that I was ready to make a scene, because she quickly held up a mop to keep me at a distance. But I was beyond reason. I grabbed a can of paint and threw it at her. Then I scrawled on her wall, "Shameless homewrecker." The next moment, I was at the police station. Seeing my very pregnant belly, the officers were at a loss. I couldn't even blame them. I was at a loss myself. 8 months. It was a done deal. Liam dropped all pretense, simply waiting for the child to be born before forcing me out with nothing. I thought I had been pushed to the edge. I never imagined that this 8-month pregnancy would become my saving grace. When Liam arrived at the station, he saw the paint splattered Isabel and me, covered in the evidence of my crime. He exploded. "Ava, you're a fucking lunatic. How dare you throw paint? Are you insane?" I met his gaze, my own control slipping. "Yes, I'm insane. Driven mad by you two shameless, disgusting excuses for human beings." I turned to the officer. "Officer, as you can see, this pair of adulterers has been carrying on in broad daylight. How many years can you sentence them for being so shameless?" The officer sighed. "Ma'am, we understand your feelings, but emotional disputes are a moral issue, not a legal one." What? I couldn't believe my ears. So scumbags and homewreckers can just get away with anything. That's right. This kind of situation should be resolved through litigation. He explained patiently. "Fine. Then I'll see you in court." As I turned to leave, the mistress' shrill voice cut through the air. "Stop. You have to compensate me for my emotional distress and property damage, or you're not leaving." I looked at the officer in disbelief. He nodded seriously. "Yes, by law, you are required to compensate for any damage to another person's property." I was stunned. The biter bit. I took a deep breath, trying to hold back the despair. "Money. Sorry. I don't have any." The scumbag transferred all our assets. He was even trying to get me to mortgage our 2 marital properties yesterday. My gaze fell on Liam, a smirk playing on my lips. "Why don't you have him sell his sperm to pay off the debt? Can't let you have him for free. Can you?" The room fell silent. Even the officer blushed. What was there to be ashamed of? The most shameless people were standing right in front of me. In the end, Liam, his face a mask of fury, signed the mediation agreement. The officer gave me a stern lecture, ordering me to apologize and restore the mistress' reputation. I knew it was his way of protecting me, but it still stung. The moment we stepped out of the station, Liam's verbal assault began. "Ava, listen to me. This is the first and last time. If you ever dare to harass Isabel again, I swear you won't get a penny in the divorce. I have nothing but debt to my name right now. If you know what's good for you, I might consider giving you a place to live. If not, don't blame me for being ruthless." Seeing his twisted face and the mistress' mocking gaze, a wave of dizziness washed over me. They walked away without a backward glance. Was this rock bottom? I touched my belly. No, not yet. For the past 6 months, Liam had constantly complained about his company's financial troubles. He hadn't given me a cent for household expenses and had even taken my dowry and wedding gifts, claiming he needed them for his business. I had believed him at first, but when he suddenly suggested mortgaging our marital properties, I grew suspicious. A private investigator confirmed my worst fears. He was having an affair. But beyond that, we found nothing. No large transfers. No expensive gifts. Not even a single photo of them together. If I hadn't put a tracker in his car, I wouldn't even have known where she lived. The man was a master of concealment. So where had all our marital assets gone? The next day, I went to Liam's company with a custom-made banner. "Addicted to cheating. Destined for ruin." If I couldn't fight the mistress, I would fight the scumbag. When the receptionist tried to stop me, I walked straight past her, unfurling the banner in front of the entire office. "Mr. Joe has worked so tirelessly to support his mistress that he can't even afford his wife's prenatal checkups. Shouldn't such dedication be commended?" The office fell silent. Liam stormed out of a meeting room, his face purple with rage. "Ava, are you fucking crazy? Security, get her out of here." The security guards exchanged glances, their eyes falling on my very pregnant belly. No one dared to touch me. Yes, I knew how to play the victim. A desperate, broke woman is capable of anything. I turned my gaze to Liam. "I am crazy. You won't let me go after her. So I'll come after you. Isn't the company in trouble? You've already taken my dowry. Why not just shut it down? He raised a hand, but it froze midair. I was recording him with my phone. He had to calm the situation. He swore it was all a misunderstanding and promised to come home that night. Instead, he called my parents, telling them I was emotionally unstable, even suicidal, and that they needed to come immediately. When I saw my parents arrive, weary from their journey, the tension I had been holding in finally released. At that moment, I knew that parents are always their children's strongest support. This strength had nothing to do with money. I had wanted my mother to come and stay with me early in my pregnancy, but Liam had always refused. Now, with the birth imminent, I needed them more than ever. This was the first step in my plan, with my parents taking care of my older daughter, Lily. I was finally able to let go of my worries. On the eve of my delivery, I compiled a detailed account of Liam's actions. I sent it as an open letter to his family group chat, the company's internal network, and all corporate emails. I also posted it on every social media platform I could think of. It was an unprecedented publicity campaign for his carefully crafted public image. Then, I turned off my phone and waited, with my parents by my side. I didn't even need to inform Liam. The real game would begin after the baby was born. Everyone told me I was being too rash, that I should think of the children. If he goes bankrupt, what will happen to them? But that logic only applies to men with a conscience. Scoundrels like him would probably rather we disappeared. All I had to do was wait until he showed up at the hospital. He showed no concern for his newborn son, Leo. He stormed over and grabbed my wrist. Ava, delete everything you posted online. Now, or don't blame me for what happens next. I looked up at him coolly. Fine. On one condition. You return my dowry, and every penny of the assets you transferred back to me. He narrowed his eyes and flung my hand away. Since you want to play dirty, so be it. The company is over $4 million in debt. Both houses will have to be used to pay it off. The only thing I can do is not make you share the debt. Agree. And sign. He threw a divorce agreement at me. It was all there in black and white. I was to leave with nothing. This was the final shred of dignity he was offering me after 8 years of marriage. I let out a long breath. The last of my hesitation gone. In such a hurry. Am I no longer of any use to you? I smirked. Don't forget, Lily has a prenuptial property in her name. From me. Liam sneered. You have no income, so you have no custody rights. Both children will stay with me. So that was it. Could it get any worse? Yes. This man continued to redefine my understanding of a scumbag. I tore the divorce papers to shreds. Sorry, I don't accept. Sue me if you have the guts. His lips trembled. You just wait, he said before storming out. I watched him go, a sour feeling in my nose. I had been preparing for this battle for so long. The day after I was discharged from the hospital, still in my postpartum confinement, I went to fulfill my promise. I owed Miss Isabel a formal apology. I stood outside her apartment building with a megaphone, live streaming the event. Since the police had ordered me to restore her reputation, I had to do it properly. To Miss Isabel in Building 28, Unit 3, I am so sorry. I was wrong to expose you as my husband's mistress. You have worked so tirelessly to cure my husband of his premature ejaculation and erectile dysfunction. I should have come to thank you, but in my confusion, I hurt your feelings. Please, find it in your heart to forgive my recklessness. Before I could finish, I was once again in the back of a police car. By a strange coincidence, it was the same officer as last time. He rubbed his temples wearily. Mrs. Joe, you just gave birth. Shouldn't you be resting at home? This is an unresolved matter. Officer, I said earnestly. One must always see things through. He sighed. The apology was just a way to save face for everyone. She doesn't want to see you. Now that you've shown up, she's filed another complaint. It only makes things more complicated. So should I go and apologize again? Formally, I asked, feigning thoughtfulness. No need, he said, holding up a hand. Please. For this month, stay home and rest. Taking care of your newborn is the priority. We will handle the apology. We'll take you home now. This was an unexpected turn of events. I never thought being a new mother would be so useful. For the next month, Liam was nowhere to be seen. He was trying to break me with the silent treatment, but I didn't stop. I continued to act erratically. To my surprise, the day my postpartum confinement ended, I received a summons from the court. He had filed for divorce, claiming I was emotionally unstable with intermittent loss of control. Not only did he want to end the marriage, but he also wanted custody of both children. I had expected a long, drawn-out battle. I hadn't expected him to be so eager. I met with my divorce lawyer. Will they take my children? She was silent for a long time before nodding slowly. They will. At that moment, I felt a surge of panic. Are your children, by law, always yours? The answer: not necessarily. The law doesn't care about emotions. My tears wouldn't get me a larger share of the assets. My sacrifices wouldn't earn me any sympathy. Only evidence speaks. And I had none. I looked at the photos he had taken of me, my hands trembling. The woman in the pictures was a raving lunatic, not a fit mother. For 3 months, I had poured all my energy into fighting this scumbag. And now, my own actions had come back to haunt me. How ironic. In court, my lawyer whispered, "Mrs. Joe, please remain calm. The first filing is usually not granted. We have over a year." I nodded, trying to suppress my emotions. I knew he was just trying to get me to break down in court. My lawyer presented the evidence of his infidelity. It wasn't much. The other side was prepared. Their lawyer calmly presented a stack of documents. "Your Honor, my client's misconduct was a temporary escape from a long-term environment of verbal abuse and degradation." He then submitted a recording. Testimonies from multiple neighbors confirmed that the defendant frequently yelled at the children and verbally abused my client. Her emotional instability and questionable morals pose a significant threat to the children's psychological well-being. My client, a loving father, is filing for divorce because he cannot bear to see his children grow up in such a volatile environment. Liam shot me a triumphant look. My mind went blank. So, it was my emotional instability that had driven him into another woman's arms. Now everyone believed I was sick, incapable of caring for my children. I lowered my eyes and sighed. In that case, I agree to the divorce. The courtroom fell silent. I understand that in my current state, I cannot provide the best environment for my children. I am willing to give up custody. I looked up at Liam. But I have 2 conditions. First, you must hire a certified nanny, approved by me, to care for the children until they are 3. Second, both marital properties will be transferred to me. His lawyer immediately objected. My client, as the primary caregiver, needs those assets to provide a stable environment for the children. I gave him a defiant smile. I had once thought this man was salvageable. Not anymore. There's no turning back. You can look back, but you can't go back. I submitted a document. As you can see, this is a hospital diagnosis of severe postpartum depression. From the evidence presented by the plaintiff, it is clear that my husband was fully aware of my condition. He knew I needed regular treatment and that it would be expensive. Yet he chose to file for divorce at my most vulnerable time. Does his behavior not constitute abandonment? Liam's eyes widened. No, I didn't know. You're lying. I played a recording on my phone. His voice, clear as day. Ava, you're a fucking lunatic. Are you insane? My voice. Yes, I'm insane. Driven mad by you. His voice again. Ava, are you fucking crazy? A single tear rolled down my cheek. So my postpartum depression was your excuse for betrayal. Then what is the meaning of marriage? The courtroom was silent. Liam's lawyer whispered in his ear. His face turned ashen. Your Honor, the lawyer said, his voice no longer so arrogant. We request a recess to discuss a settlement with the defendant. When the word abandonment was brought up in court, it was no longer just a divorce case. The settlement talks, as I expected, reached an impasse. I want custody of the children, both properties, and $5,000 a month in child support. Impossible. You're dreaming. Liam interrupted. My lawyer calmly added, Mr. Joe, my client is exercising her legal rights. Given your infidelity and the fact that you filed for divorce while knowing she was ill, which constitutes a major fault, we have a strong legal basis for this settlement. Abandonment. Liam was furious. No, I didn't know she was that sick. Now that I do, I want to abandon her. I don't agree to the divorce. The mediation failed. Back in court, the tables had turned. My lawyer's voice boomed. Since the plaintiff no longer wishes to divorce, We demand the following to prove his sincerity. First, a one-time payment of $50,000 for 1 year of psychological treatment. Second, he must hire a certified nanny, with the salary fully covered by him. Third, both properties will be used as collateral. If he files for divorce again, they will be used to pay for damages and child support. Finally, he must pay $5,000 a month for household expenses, to be legally confirmed in a marital property agreement. His face turned green. Bullshit. I don't have that kind of money. You're dreaming. I smirked. This was also part of my plan. Then let's request a third-party audit. I would also like to know the details of all of Liam's assets over the past 8 years, and where that $400,000 debt came from. If it turns out you really can't afford it, I'll concede. But if not, then it means you fabricated the debt and maliciously transferred marital assets. He looked at me with pure hatred. Forged IOUs, dual contracts. I hoped their web of lies was strong enough to withstand scrutiny. From the moment I discovered his betrayal, I had been waiting for this day. To my surprise, he agreed to the audit. This move threw a wrench in my plans. Ava, you asked for this, he said as we left the courthouse, a chill running down my spine. The audit team arrived a week later. I had seen over 20 employees at his company. An operation of that size should be profitable. Liam charmed the auditors, treating them to lavish gifts and entertainment. 3 days later, the report came out. The company was in dire straits. Its current business could barely support the staff. The $400,000 debt was only $200,000. But even with no major profits, the company could still easily cover basic family expenses. A new round of mediation began. We finally settled on $20,000 for treatment, 1 property as collateral, and $1,000 a month for living expenses. It was more than I had hoped for, but I had one last demand. Since the company is struggling, as a shareholder's spouse, do I have the right to request downsizing? Liam's face turned ashen. This isn't a game. Who's going to pay the severance? Liam, we both know that when a company is in trouble, layoffs are a responsible business practice, and severance is only for key executives. How many of those do you have? For most employees, the legal compensation is all that's required. More importantly, you can't even support your own wife, yet you're trying to keep a failing team afloat. How will a judge interpret that? As poor management, or as a deliberate attempt to hide profits? The woman who had once believed his every excuse was gone. The only things that don't lie are the cards in your hand and the numbers on a balance sheet. 2 years after our confrontation, the family account finally received a payment from my husband. Now, it was time for my war with that woman. I went to Liam's company several times, but she was never there. The apartment she lived in was in a high-end neighborhood. Liam would never have provided such an expensive residence for a worthless mistress unless she had some other value. Like, for example, knowing how to legally hide marital assets. The investigator gave me her company's address. It was just across the street from Liam's. Their businesses were almost identical, but her company had no legal ties to him. This was tricky. I had no evidence to launch an investigation, so I brought out my secret weapon again. A new banner. Miracle worker. Saved my husband's worthless life. I was here to thank her. After all, my last apology had been interrupted. The receptionist, seeing the rolled-up banner, led me to a conference room. I quickly found Isabel's office. She was in a meeting. Ms. Lynn. My apologies for the interruption. I unfurled the banner. I'm here for 2 reasons. First, to apologize. I was emotionally unstable and said some things I shouldn't have, like calling you my husband's mistress. I'm truly sorry. Shut up. She lunged at me, but I easily dodged her. Second, to thank you. I placed the banner on her client's lap. Thank you for taking such good care of my husband while I was pregnant. You truly are a miracle worker. You cured his lifelong impotence. This banner is well-deserved. The employees finally reacted. Security. I quickly added, I came here to communicate peacefully. And Ms. Lynn, I noticed your company's business is identical to my husband's, and you're right across the street. What a coincidence. We should collaborate more, don't you think? I was then dragged out by security and back to the police station. Ma'am, we've heard you've been causing trouble for her more than once, the officer said, rubbing his temples. I swear, the last 2 times. I came with sincere apologies, but she can't make up her mind if she wants them or not, regardless of your reasons. Repeatedly disturbing her business is against the law. We can detain or fine you. Not detention. My baby is still small. A fine, please. He nodded. The amount will be determined after we speak with her lawyer. I'm willing to pay more than the standard. As a third party in a marriage, she must be in some financial difficulty. I'm happy to help. The officer looked at me suspiciously. What are you up to now? Heh. You saw right through me. I just have too much money and don't know what to do with it. In the mediation room, I signed the $80,000 settlement agreement. My legs were a little weak. Isabel's lawyer was smirking. Even my own lawyer sighed. Mrs. Joe, just look forward. Please control your emotions in the future. Everyone thought I had just thrown a tantrum and made a fool of myself, confirming my insanity. Liam even called to mock me. Ava, you really are sick. You should be in a mental hospital. Not barking like a mad dog in front of someone's company. I just smiled. What's wrong with being a mad dog? Don't underestimate a mad dog. He had no idea that I hadn't bought peace, but a ticket to their deepest secret. After signing the agreement, I had my lawyer send a letter to Isabel's company. My tone was humble. To fulfill the settlement, please provide your financial statements and bank records for the past 6 months so we can accurately determine the compensation amount. It was a blatant power move. If she provided the records, she would be exposing her secrets. If she refused, she would be in breach of the agreement, and I could have the court enforce it, which would involve an audit. If she forged the records, she would be committing fraud, no matter what she chose. I had her cornered. Isabel was stunned, but Liam reacted faster. I finally heard the panic in his voice over the phone. Ava, let's talk. All right. We met at a quiet cafe. He looked thinner, the anxiety clear on his face. This has gone on long enough, he said, pushing a check for $100,000 towards me. Take this, drop the case, and we're even. I laughed. Liam, are you insulting me or yourself? 8 years of marriage and 2 children are only worth this much to you. His face darkened. Ava, don't push it. Those are all legitimate business transactions. If you're so confident, why are you here playing the victim? Go back and tell that bitch. $500,000. Both houses transferred to me, and you give up custody of the children. You're delusional. Where am I supposed to get $500,000? Get creative. Sell yourselves. You and Isabel together. You'll earn it back in no time. Shut up, he hissed, the whole cafe turning to look at us. What good will this do you? If I'm ruined, the children's future is ruined. You've got 2 things wrong, I said, my voice devoid of pity. First, a child's future should never be built on their mother's sacrifice and their father's betrayal. Second, even without you, I can provide for them. He stepped forward. Ava, we've known each other for 10 years. You're not this kind of person. This scheming, it's frightening. 10 years. What a joke. Yes, the best 10 years of my life. Wasted on a complete scumbag. When I needed my husband the most. You not only cut me off financially but also openly flaunted your affair. You transferred all our assets, thinking I was helpless. But you forgot. What goes around comes around. Your karma isn't fate. It's me, your wife. I will show you what despair is. I walked out. No one knew how long I had waited for this day. The thought of their downfall thrilled me. Perhaps, in the eyes of others, I was sick, incurably so. Because I found an unprecedented pleasure in the flames of my revenge. Never underestimate a housewife. We have touched the deepest parts of life, the desperation you have never known. When we decide to fight back, we have already burned all our bridges. As expected, Isabel refused to provide the records, citing business confidentiality. So I filed a motion with the court to compel discovery. When the court order arrived at her company, they finally panicked. They now realized that the seemingly humiliating settlement was a track I had laid to the truth. And this ticket, issued by the law, would take me straight to my destination. My phone exploded with voice messages. Ava, do you have to be so ruthless? We can give you half the money. No, 60%. Just drop the case now. His voice was a mixture of anger and panic. If the court investigates my books, my reputation will be ruined. No one will ever work with me again. Pathetic. They never learn to yield until the axe is at their neck. Too late, my dear. Now I want it all. The next day, they ambushed me on my way to pick up the kids. Isabel was no longer so arrogant. Sis, we give up. But we can't come up with $1 million in cash. Can you take less? I kept walking. $1 million is my bottom line. Both houses. And custody of the children. This is your last chance. If we don't settle today, I'll see you in court. Liam rushed forward. Ava, for the sake of our marriage, we're really trying. $1 million in cash will bankrupt the company. Give us some time, or we can pay in installments. I stopped. I didn't want a long, drawn-out legal battle. $1 million in cash would secure my children's future. Fine, I said, but the down payment must be at least $600,000. For the rest, you will need a cosigner, and Isabel's house will be used as collateral. If you miss a payment, I will have the court enforce it. You have 24 hours. If I don't see the money by this time tomorrow, the investigation begins. 24 hours later, I didn't get a bank notification. I got a frantic call from Liam. Ava, Isabel, that bitch. She ran off with all the money from the company account. The call was on speaker. My lawyer looked at me. I calmly took a sip of water. Liam, calm down. How much did she take? From which account? Go to the police right now with all the bank records you can find. This is embezzlement. It's a criminal case now. Every minute you delay, the chances of getting the money back decrease. He was stunned. The police. Yes, it's your only option. And have the company accountant freeze all accounts and electronic records immediately. My lawyer looked at me with undisguised admiration. Mrs. Joe, that was a masterstroke. Yes. After 10 years, I knew Liam all too well. He was clever, but also selfish and cowardly. The police quickly opened a case. A criminal investigation has far more power than a civil one. Bank accounts were frozen, and travel records were locked down. The truth, ugly and shocking, was revealed. The company's financial difficulties were a sham. Liam had been funneling profits to Isabel's company, which was nothing more than a shell corporation to swallow our marital assets. And Isabel's escape was not a Spiro Themet decision. She had been slowly transferring assets to overseas accounts, and with the investigation looming, she had simply cut her losses and fled, leaving Liam to face the music. The trial was a foregone conclusion. Liam sat in the dock, a hollow shell of a man. The judge's verdict was clear. Liam was found to be at major fault for his infidelity and malicious transfer of assets. The divorce was granted. I was given custody of the children, both houses, and a significant sum in damages. All the transferred assets, totaling over $800,000, were returned to me. Isabel was sentenced to 7 years in prison for embezzlement. Liam, as an accomplice, received a 3-year suspended sentence. He was released from court a free man, but he had lost everything. A year later, I was in the yard with my children, enjoying the sun. I received a text from an unknown number. Ava, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Can you give me another chance? So the children can have a complete family. I read it, didn't reply, and blocked the number. All sins had been paid for. All punishments served. The sun shone down on us, warm, bright, and impartial.